Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo.
On this episode of the History of the Course podcast with Curtis and Josh, we take a look at the band known as AFI. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at IsSurvivedByPro for news and the latest episode postings. And make sure to subscribe to the show, leave us a 5-star review, and write us a comment on YouTube or whatever podcast service you're using. Make sure to check us out on TikTok and give us a follow at IsSurvivedByProductions. And if you'd like to see us do some live streams, leave us a comment or tweet us the keyword stream. Now, without further ado, let's start the show.
The devil is in Atlanta, army surrounded.
I told you you can't be replaced. You showed me I'm disposable. Spit in my face as I submit, so I quit. Welcome back to the History of the Chorus podcast, where each and every episode we are taking a look at the band. We are taking a look at the history of a band from the core genre. My name is Curtis, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Josh. What up, Josh?
What up?
How's it going, man?
Good. Getting my 80s punk vibe on. Listening to AFI all day.
Yep. Throw back some memories.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Cool. When did you really get into AFI? What was your whole listening experience?
Not until probably
December Underground, probably, or Sing Sorrow.
oh God, no.
No,
Yeah, no, before that.
really.
Yeah.
Okay, didn't know
Probably
that.
like Black Sails, maybe.
That was the
Yeah,
first album you heard.
I think Black Sails. Black
Okay.
Sails or The Drowning.
Oh, The Art of Drowning.
Yeah, The Art of Drowning.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, one of those two. But yeah, and then it just kind of carried from there.
Okay. At what point did you go backwards though and listen to like their early stuff?
Some of these like first few EPs I hadn't heard before.
Okay.
I had gone back probably, I don't know, several years after December Underground. Like when
Okay.
it kind of started to take that turn, like once it gets past there, I was like, I'm kind of like longing for, you know, the older
Yeah.
stuff. I think it was just like that, it started with The Art of Drowning and Black Sails and All Hallows. And then it was like, okay, well, go back a little bit further. So yeah, these first three albums before that, like I've heard at different points. I've definitely not examined them, as we have now for this, but
Yeah. Cool. Cool. All right. Well, before we get into that, let's hear what each other got to listen to besides AFI this week, shall we? Do you have any visual arts this week?
um this is the first band. That's gonna be the second band. It's gonna be the third band.
Wait, do you actually have something?
Huh?
Do you actually have something?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't tell what you're doing. So are you just telling me you
Psych!
listen to? Okay, never mind.
Psych! Psych!
Nice. Though I can't tell. Is that Lamb of God behind you?
Yes, it's Ashes of the Wake.
Man, that's funny. I just listened to that Fall Out Boy album like a couple of weeks ago.
Take this
'Cause I
to your
hadn't heard.
grave.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that one in forever.
It's a good
That's
one.
a good
They
one. That's a
actually,
good one.
right now on the tour they're on, they're playing several songs off this album.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
That's
not
cool.
just like Grand Theft Autumn. Like there's several.
Did you know that they used to have 5 members?
Yeah, but that was only for that first album, right? It's like a
Yeah.
night out with your girlfriend or something like
Yeah.
that.
I didn't know that though.
Yeah, it was just that first album though.
Nice. Well, anyway, go ahead.
Nobody
Explain.
remembers that guy.
No, nobody does.
Is he Chris? Is he the one that they talk about in that song in Take This to Your Grave?
There's two. I don't know. I don't remember what their names are, but there's two guys that were their fifth member.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a guy that was in the band that I think did a split with them with another band, and then he left, and then they did the Night Out with Fall Out Boy or whatever album, and then that guy left, and then they did that one Behind You with just
Okay.
4 members.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Care to explain the albums behind you though?
Oh yeah. I didn't know if you were switching to yours, if we were
No,
going
go ahead.
even
No,
me.
no, no,
Okay.
go ahead.
So I have my softer albums are up top here.
Nice.
I listened to the self-titled Used album, Fall Out Boys, Take This to Your Grave, which is their second, and then Reliant K's. Yeah.
Mm.
I also listened to The Anatomy of the Tongue in Check,
Okay.
but yeah, I didn't want to get too crazy with my board. Yours is very simplified the other day. I was like, that's clean. I like that.
Yeah, I got to keep them more simplified.
I got Cancer Bats Birthing the Giant over here
Now, did you
because
actually listen to the whole album, or did you just listen to like 45 minutes worth of Pneumonia Hawk?
I did listen to the whole album, but I was going to show you every time that I wish you could like screen record like as videos are going and stuff, because I could have shown you how every time one of these EPs ended on YouTube, every time one of them would end, it would play Pneumonia Hawk, like every single time.
Yeah.
So I listened to Birthing the Giant and then Ashes of the Wake, Lamb of God. That's one of their better ones for sure.
Okay.
I'd say
Okay.
that's probably,
What year is that?
oh God, maybe like 3 or 4.
03 or 04?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it might have been like 05 or 06. We can see
Okay.
real quick.
Yeah. I see little Josh Scoggin hiding behind you there too. Interested
Yeah,
to hear your take on that one.
I didn't get to listen to the entire album yet, but I did listen to like the first 4, maybe 5 songs.
Mm-hmm. What'd you
So,
think?
yeah, Ashes of the Wake was 2004.
Okay. Nice.
I did like it so far. I have always had a little bit of a beef with 68. I think you know.
Okay. I don't think so. Go ahead.
First of all, they just need to add a bassist in there. Like, let's just get to it. Let's get it done. Let's stop messing around.
Okay.
And second, it always leaves me kind of wanting because I have a hard time just keeping in perspective like what they're doing there and like what he's trying to do. Like in my head, I feel like it's missing a bunch of shit and it sounds like so empty sometimes,
Okay. And
And
that has to do with just having 2 members, right?
yeah, and I think I associate him like too much with the Chariot. And so I don't know. I
Hard to
feel
follow
like
it.
I leave wanting a lot from a 68 album.
Okay. I could see that.
But I do like them. Like I like those first 2 albums and I like what I've heard on this one.
Yeah.
It's just something that like if Josh Goggins was like, hey, what could I do to make this better for you personally? Those are
Right.
the things that I would do.
Okay. Let me ask you, I mean, obviously you haven't listened to this whole third album, but just out of the four songs that you've listened to so far, does it feel like they're progressing like in a good direction? Does it feel like it's getting better throughout their discography, or what does it feel like to you right at this moment?
Uh I don't know if so far I've heard like a clear progression, you
Okay.
know. It's not like they were two musicians who were early in their careers, you know.
Well, no, but I mean like in terms of okay,
It's
was it
cleaner. It's
okay?
it
Well,
sounds
and
cleaner.
yeah, one of the things too is this album was produced by like a better, a higher up producer, I guess you could say. So they had more room to work with, more of a budget, I guess you could say. I don't know. They just had like a guy who had more um of a bigger resume as a producer than what they had before. I don't remember who did the last one, but I know Goldman did the first one.
Yeah.
And of course, first one they didn't really know what they were going for, but yeah. So I'm what I'm trying to get like at is kind of like what you say with every time I die of it just gets better and better and better and better and better. Do you feel that with those three albums, is it going up? Is there somewhere that's taking a dip?
I would need to listen to all three of them back to back
Okay.
to really make a call on that, I feel like.
Okay. Well, I'd like to hear what your opinion is
Next
after
week
you
it's
do
just going to be those three albums across the top.
that. That's it. Cool. All righty. My turn. Get
Let's
that crap
see.
off of my screen.
No, this is my new
Let's
background.
see what we got here. Kaboom! Bombshell. No. Okay, so starting behind me, new junk. Hadn't listened to it in a while. Was feeling a little new junk. So I decided, hey, I'm gonna throw on some new junk. Uh how can you not like Redeemer, I mean, it's just like so good.
What's your
So
favorite
good,
song
man.
on New Junk?
On new junk,
Yeah.
mm, I mean, it's probably like everybody else. It's Wanderlust.
Wanderlust?
Yeah. I mean, it's
It's a
it's a good
good
album all the way through though, man.
it's a good one.
Yeah. What's the I can't think of the name of it. The second song. Um, good
Marvelous
Lord.
Slut.
Yeah, Marvelous Slut. That's a good one too. The way they come in on that is really good. Um, the Russian Soldier one's pretty good too. Of course, Turtles all the way
I would
down.
say
That's a good one.
Turtles.
Yeah, it's just a good album from front to back, dude. And it's got Pete Wentz on it, screaming. So that helps. Yeah. Like I said, you got Redeemer, and
Oh my
then
god, dude, it just I'm sorry. It doesn't stop from like track 7 through the end, which is Turtles. Like it just rips all the way to the end.
oh
Sweet
yeah,
Life, Buffalo 666.
yeah.
I'm sorry, we can't talk about Every Time I Die without
You
me.
freaking out?
Yeah.
Ah! So yeah. Anyway, every time I die, new junk. Norma Jean, Redeemer. These other two are newer to me. I just found these both out this week. So this middle one is a band called Roman Candle. I sent that to you earlier in the week. I didn't know if you listened to it or not.
I haven't gotten to
Um,
yet.
I think they label themselves as Las Vegas hardcore. It's a girl front vocalist, but their music, and I think I told you this too, their music at times sounds almost kind of like Touche Amore type, just like with the guitars, the way they sound and such, and like the drumming. It's pretty good. This is their only album. They just put it out, I think, this last October. It's called Discount Fireworks. It's really good. I enjoyed it. And then this other band I just found out the other day, it's called Last of Eden. This is a post rock band, instrumental. They're pretty good. I listen to this album. It's called If My Deal Would Stop Moving, because I can't see it. It's cutting it off. The world and everything in it. There we go. So yeah, that's what I listened to this week. That is my collage. Ooh,
Nice.
marvel at it. Marvel. Now, how do I get out of here? There we go. Cool. All
You
right.
guys are you guys are really into these instrumentals.
I like it, man. It's nice to put it on like when I'm doing something, like if I'm working, mowing the yard, doing, woodworking, whatever, typing up these notes or whatever, or getting ready for an episode in terms of, notes or the title cards or editing or whatever. It's nice to have something like that in the background because it's just chill, It's almost like makes me almost think of like study music sometimes if it doesn't go too hard. Sometimes it goes pretty hard. But yeah, it's just nice to have something in the background like that. But
I
uh
typically don't seek out those kind of bands,
mhm.
but I do like it when Flesh God Apocalypse, I think on the bonus version of the King album. Um I'm pretty sure that's the one. There is like at the end of the album, there's a whole nother set of tracks. It's the album over again, but just the instrumentals
Just instrumental.
on every track. I know Hawthorne Heights for um, Silence in Black and White, and
Really? They
yeah,
did
here.
that too?
Yeah, they did instrumental. They went back and did instrumental versions of those two. What was the second one called?
If only you were lonely.
Yes. For both
Okay.
those albums, I know they did those for him.
Did not know that.
And those are
See,
actually really good.
my only problem though with something like that is it's kind of like Fall of Troy because I went back and I listened to one of the versions of OK that was the instrumental, and it just didn't do it for me because like I knew it just felt like they took it and they just took out the vocals. And so it's like it just doesn't feel right. It feels like something's missing. Well, obviously something's missing because there's no vocals, So just like it was kind of off-putting
You
the whole time
prefer
I
it to
listened to it,
be
man.
written to have no vocals.
Right. Well, and that's the thing about it though, it's like those bands, they write it like that to tell a story through their instruments. I mean, it takes to me it takes like a very um I mean, you gotta want, like you said, with the deal of like you don't seek it out. It's like you gotta be into that stuff. You gotta want to be into the instrumentals for sure. But anyway,
Are these guys all dressed as Vikings?
no, they're not. Why? What? Where'd that
Just
come
like the
from?
way you're talking about stuff, you were like the telling a story like through, just the instrumentals and stuff. And I was picturing, I don't know, I was picturing some
No,
band with a gimmick.
no. I mean, there may be one out there like that, but no. Yeah. Anyway, you got
Interesting.
any?
I'll have
You
to
got
try some
any?
of these.
Yes, do please do. You got any other housekeeping stuff before we get into AFI?
No,
Yes.
I just I'll give I'm always hyping up the bands that have some keys in there, your arsonists get all the girls, your dance club massacres, your bleeding throughs. Um, and I don't know, have you ever listened to Sky Eats Airplane?
Yeah. Back in the day, I
Okay,
used to
like
listen to a little bit.
they were an old one.
Hmm.
But yeah, that is what I wanted to give an honorable mention to this week.
Okay,
Well, like sometimes I throw on like them or like I set my friends on fire,
that's a good one too.
and yeah.
Okay, okay.
Uh,
I still listened to a bunch of I Wrestled a Bear once this week too, but I didn't feel
You're like
like throwing it out
I
there,
didn't want to
man.
tell you, but I have been listening
No,
to I Wrestled the Bear once.
it's not a fact that I didn't want to tell you. It's just like, okay, it was on there last week and it dominated like 50% of the page. So
Hey, if we
And
had
it was
started this like a week earlier, I would have been able to put the No Strings Attached album by NSYNC on mine. So
what the
we were talking.
moving on. Today we're looking at what in the world, Josh?
uh,
Do tell. No, I want to hear this story.
we were just talking about. I think it started because we were talking about that movie or a couple movies that Justin Timberlake's been in.
Yeah.
He was in that movie. I think was it called um was it called Time or something like that,
It's
where
like, wasn't it In Time or something like
it
that?
was like time was a
Something
currency,
about time. Yeah, I know what you're talking
and
about.
yeah, it was like your life. You're
Mhm.
basically paying for things with like years off your life and stuff.
Right.
Um, and then he's also in that movie Alpha Dog, which is based on a true
Mhm.
story. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I've heard of it.
That they're both pretty good. Alpha Dog is really good, but so we were talking about JT, and then we started talking about NSYNC, and a couple songs got brought up. And then when I left that night, I was like, you know what? I was like, I remember there being some other bangers on there. And so I just like
Oh boy.
every now and again I do with Eiffel 65, I just hit
Oh
play on the first
no.
track and let
Good
it roll.
Lord. What is happening? I don't know what's happening to this show anymore.
It's gone off
I
the rails.
think you started to lose some credibility with some of our fans now.
Yeah, it'll be all right.
All right. All right, well, let's get on into this one. We've beat
That's
around the
me
bush
being
long enough.
honest. That's me not
This is him
hiding
being vulnerable, people.
my music choices.
All right, today we are taking a look at the band known as AFI. Sit back, relax, because it's going to take a couple of parts to get through all this discography. My God, what a discography. All right, so
Well, you can say, okay. This
let's go.
first
Oh,
up,
here's the this first episode, chop it off because, yeah, a lot of this is like re recorded. There's a ton of EPs, yada, yada, yada. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I will have the same comments about pretty much all of these EPs up until the last one, Fly in the Ointment, I believe.
Yeah. Mhm.
Up until that one, they're all pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah.
There's like no differentiation between those albums. My feelings on them are the same. This episode will mainly cover those three full-length albums
Yeah.
and the last like couple EPs, because that's where the sound starts to change just a little bit, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
But
Yes. So their genre is categorized under punk rock, hardcore punk, horror punk, gothic rock, post
horror
hardcore,
punk.
post hardcore, and emo. And I think it basically kind of goes in that order throughout their history, it seems like.
Yeah.
You start out kind of in that punk, then you get to the hardcore, then you get to the horror and gothic, then you get, some post hardcore kind of sprinkled out through the middle there, and then emo. And yeah. Anyway, yeah. It's an interesting transition through their discography here. We'll see that over the next couple of episodes.
For sure.
Formed in 1991. Good God, 30 years of this. 1991 in
I was 1 year old.
yeah,
Dude,
Ukiah.
how old is Davey Havoc? We can't go any further. How old is
How
Davey
old is
Havoc?
he? That's a
He's
good
got to be
question.
50, dude.
Davey Havoc. Davey 47.
Ugh,
He's shorter than me.
he's shorter than you. How tall is he?
5'10".
Ah,
He's
taller
taller
than
than
me.
you. Everybody's taller than you, bro.
Damn it.
Oh boy. Yeah, 47 years old, man. Sheesh.
That's crazy.
Sheesh.
Continue.
Formed in 1991 when Josh was just a wee lad in Ukiah, California, under the name AFI, which stands for A Fire Inside. By high school friends Davey Havoc, Mark Stupperless, and Vic Chalker, without knowing how to play any instruments. Did you know? I mean, that's interesting to me that they formed this band. They didn't know how to play any instruments at all. Yet 2 years later, when we get this EP, you could have fooled me because they sounded pretty decent,
I did not know that
playing
they
wise.
couldn't play at all.
Yeah, that's what was weird to me.
I've heard of one member not being able to play and they bring somebody in and like teach them,
Right. Yeah, who
But
was
like,
that? Because that
well,
sounds familiar.
the guy who played keyboards for Motion City soundtrack,
Okay.
he didn't
He
play at
didn't know.
all before.
Oh wow.
And they were all
Okay.
really good friends and they wanted him to join the band. He's like, I don't know how to do anything. And they wanted a
Yeah.
keyboardist. I think Justin was doing some of the keyboard stuff before that.
Interesting. Yeah, didn't know how to play their instruments at all. So they definitely committed to the part over the next few years before their first EP came out. Friend of Mark Stopoulos, drummer Adam Carson would soon join the band as well. So here's your first official lineup. You got Davey Havoc on vocals, Mark Stopoulos on guitar, Vic Chalker on bass, and Adam Carson on drums. Now, Vic is gone. We don't need Vic. We don't need a bassist, right, Josh? In a punk rock band, you don't really need a bassist, right? Is that right?
Oh my God.
Oh man. Soon Vic Chalker, who played bass, would be replaced by George Kredge? I don't know. He's a bassist. What does it matter? You don't need him in
Georgie
punk
G.
rock bands, apparently. So uh after learning their respective instruments, the band would start to play gigs as opening acts for different punk bands around the area. Before we get into this first EP, like I said just a little bit ago, a lot of these early songs from their EPs before we get into, well, even on their first couple of full lengths, there's a lot of repetitive songs. I don't know if you noticed that too. On their first two full length albums.
Yeah. A lot of
So,
like
I mean,
re-recorded songs.
even through like that, um, it's just a lot of like re-recorded stuff, and makes you think of Fall of Troy in their early years. They just
Oof.
kept re-recording, re-recording, re-recording. Yeah. So you get like 4 or 5 versions of FC Premix.
Yeah.
Okay, so here is the first EP. We're probably going to go through these pretty quickly because there's not much history meat on this sandwich. But
What? You
19,
said 2 years? It was 2 years that the EP comes out.
yeah, after they were formed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is
two
that?
years. That's just nuts. Like it doesn't sound like super put together, but it does sound like,
Like they know what they're doing at least.
yeah, two
Some
years.
some people are born for that, man. Some people can do it. Some people, if they
Well,
put
and
their
now
mind to it,
they've added an element here. This other dude, George, he's not, we don't know what his
true.
story was. He
Yeah, but he's
probably
just a
knew how to play
bassist, man.
bass,
He's just a bassist, and according to some people in the
You're
world, you don't
saying
need a bassist in a
but
punk rock band. But
you're saying but AFI like does more
I
than
know,
your run
I
of the mill
know.
bass work,
I'm saying all that just as a joke, man. I don't know if you got this. It's a running joke. You're
It's
the one
not
who brought it
funny.
up. I'm here to ruin your life through this
Uh,
episode.
I got to imagine
1990.
he had some experience.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. 1993's Dork slash Stick Around, an AFI Loose Change split EP from Keyline,
Dork.
High Records, and Wilson House Records. Produced by Keith Gaudette and AFI. There were only 200 copies produced. Only. And the band Loose Change that was on the split with AFI would feature a future member of AFI, Jade Puget, who would go on to be the guitarist in AFI, and we'll see that. I think it's not in this episode. I think it's the next episode when he comes in. But this album would be re-released in 2017. Your songs on this split for AFI is Red Hat, Self Pity, and NyQuil. And Loose Change did the songs Stick Around, Loose Change, and Brandy. Yeah, like you said, Josh, I mean, for 2 years after their formation and at least 3 of them not really knowing, well, Heck, we could probably throw just two of them, Davey and Mark, and Davey's just doing vocals. So I mean, yeah, how much do you really have to learn to play
Yeah.
vocals, you know? So really, let's just chalk it up as one guy, the guitarist, had to learn his instrument because
Okay. Yeah.
Adam Carson came in after all that. So yeah, let's just go ahead and chalk it up as just the guitarist.
Okay.
In the end, needed to know how to play the
This is
guitar.
sounding less impressive now.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, they sound like they got their stuff together. At least they figured it out in a pretty quick time. But I mean, like I said, I don't want to say like punk rock is like the easiest thing to play, but I mean it's a lot of power chords and just like, fast beats, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, not
It's
like a whole lot of
not super
technicality to it.
technical. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So um I was very interested. My history with AFI was just when they really became mainstream. And I never was like a big AFI fan. Um, I think the only two albums that I ever really heard was Sing the Sorrow and December Underground. And so, like I told you in the last episode, we were kind of previewing AFI. I didn't really know anything about their early history. I didn't know that they were, into like the punk rock and even like um, hardcore punk. So I was very interested to hear this. And I don't hate it, but I've never been like a big punk rock fan. And it kind of like what you said too is like a lot of this early stuff, just besides the fact that a lot of it is just like re-recorded and same songs used over and over and over, it all just kind of sounds the same to me. And it's not bad. Like I said, I like it, but I don't know. It's not I'm not a huge fan of it. So
That's Curtis because we are hardcore people and not punk people, and they're
yeah.
very distinct sides of the fence, you know. And
Please explain.
I've said in other episodes that punk, in essence, was the complaint. You know, punk was the complaint, and hardcore was the solution. In punk, you hear a lot of lyrics that are addressing a problem with no clear solution. In hardcore, a lot of the time lyrically, you find the solution in those lyrics, you know?
But so you still have the problem, but we give you a solution to the problem.
Yeah, it's definitely like a mindset thing, and I don't know, that's why punk eventually develops into hardcore, you know? It's not like it's got to be, oh well, hardcore was a rejection of punk or anything like that. It's like it turned into that eventually. So,
Right.
you know,
And
but I feel
where
like
does Sworn
you
In come in at?
sworn in.
They go in the garbage.
Yeah, in the trash many years down the line when the system fails.
Oh boy.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like you a lot of times lean one way or the other, you know?
Yeah.
Like you are either kind of in the punk music camp or you're in the hardcore music camp. They share a lot of similarities. And I'm not saying you can't like both. Like I do,
No, but like you
but
said, it's like
you
a
lean
lot
one
of
way or the
times,
other, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yep. I agree, man. Got anything for else to say about this split before we get into their first singular EP release?
No,
I mean, there's just
no.
really nothing to say
I mean,
about
on these first few,
it.
like it's all the same. It's a good old
Yeah.
fashioned dirty punk album. You know, like
Yep.
you get what you paid for. That
Yep.
if that's what you came here for, then you're probably satisfied.
So once they get this split release, they're going to come out with their own release, the 1993 Behind the Times EP, released through Key Lime Pie Records. Once again, produced by Keith Gaudette and the band. 400 copies this time. 400. We're doubling. Were made on the first run, with 100 more the next year being produced due to the popularity of their release. And this album would be re-released in 2016. Songs on this album include Who Said You Could Touch Me? No, really, who said? I'm asking you a question. No. Rolling Balls, High School Football Hero, Rizzo in the Box, Cereal Wars, Born in the US of A. Okay, this is going to be way off topic, but rolling balls just made me remind me of something. Have you watched the newest episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Yeah, the bowling
The
episode.
bowling one, dude.
Yeah.
I about died laughing when they got the McPoyles to come out there and bowl for them, and just that scene of like doing the what's that movie called? Big Lebowski, but they're just like
Yeah, with the
rolling it.
balls. Yeah.
Oh man, and just
Yeah.
like their facial expressions and everything. Do you think that may be like the best episode of the season?
Mm,
I think I
maybe.
found I think I found myself laughing the most at that episode.
It's been a pretty solid season.
Yeah, it's a good season.
That part and the part where Dennis broke his hand on the
Yeah,
punching machine.
there's nothing left. There's just mush now.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah,
it's just bits of bone and
just bits of
broth.
bone. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oof.
bits of
Anyway,
bone and blood broth.
back on topic here. Yeah, first release by themselves, Behind the Times EP. Yeah, once again, it's just, I mean, same year too as a split, so it's all going to be the same. The band actually would briefly break up in 1993 due to the members leaving Ukiah to attend college. So it was pretty interesting. But soon a
Yeah.
decision. What?
Well, yeah, that's AFI's big thing. Like when like the story of AFI,
Mhm.
like I feel like a fan always wants to tell you that
Really?
there was like when they broke up, like to go to college, like they were all going to school. It
Yeah.
wasn't like this isn't working out thing.
Right. Yeah.
Um, they got back together for a show on like
Mhm.
just a school break or something.
Yeah. Christmas break.
And yeah, and the response locally was just so insane that they were like, okay, well, we got to pursue this full time,
This is the sign. Yep.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've seen footage from that show, but
No.
it is crazy.
Really?
Like,
I'll have to look that
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't even know there was footage of it. Hmm. Was it shot on an iPhone?
No.
Somebody's old big school like
If
VCR
it's the
recorder.
if it's the one I'm thinking of, like, yeah, that was it. Because
Wow,
this was
okay.
definitely like super early for them, the video. But
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to look that one
I'll
up.
see if I can find it here later on.
Okay. Yeah, and send it to me or whatever. So yeah, like Josh said, the with the response from their fan base when they got back together for the one night reunion during Christmas break sparked the band. It was a sign. Ah! The band decided, hey, let's do this thing. I mean, if we're going to do this, let's do this. So they decided to relocate from Ukiah to Berkeley, California. The band would find themselves, this is interesting. The band, when they moved, would find themselves as squatters in an old fraternity house for the time being. Gotta live somewhere, right? Gotta live somewhere. Which brings us to 1994's live album, Eddie Picnic's All Wet from Key Lime Pie Records, produced by Robert Maniaci. This, like I said, live album. It was recorded at the Phoenix Theater in Petaluma, California. And it was 201, Josh. What a weird number. 201 copies produced on the first run, with another 100 later in the year. So I've talked about this before with specifically Fall of Troy, because they did a live album. I think was their second EP. I don't even remember what it was called, but it was like live at some such and such theater or whatever. And that album always like intrigued me because you don't see a band as young as that, or even like in this instance, record a live album. Usually you see something like that from like a band that's been around for a long time, and oh, we're recording a live set of the 10th anniversary of an album or something like that. I think Silverstein did that for one of theirs, but I've always kind of been fascinated by this idea for a younger band because it's one thing to record in the studio, but then to get people to come out and see you, or yeah, to come out and see you or even hear you live. um, I feel like this is kind of an interesting way to kind of get your music even out there even further of, hey, it's not a produced, overproduced, studio album. This is us live. This is us real, you know, hear it and then now like get interested to come check us out in person. I just
Yeah.
always kind of thought that was kind of an interesting thing for a young band to do. Obviously, I don't know, what all would go into trying to record that live. It would
That's a
have
tough
to
thing
be,
to record with
yeah,
no money, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Well, and that's what I'm kind of like, okay, I mean, what did AFI have to do, to get that done? Or what did Fall of Troy have to do to get that done in their younger years? Did they have the money to do that? Did they just know the right people maybe that were like, hey, yeah, I'd be down to do that or whatever, for a discount, the friend discount, or something. I don't know. But I just always kind of thought that would be an interesting idea if you were in a younger band to try to separate yourself. Because who's doing that, in their younger years.
Yeah.
But songs on this live album include NyQuil, Rizzo in the Box, Who Said You Could Touch Me, I Want to Get a Mohawk, and Love is a Mini Splendored Thing. Now, in mid 1994, the band would be featured on a woo,
Compilation?
compilation album
Mm.
featuring other bands such as Black Fork, Dead and Gone, and Screw 32. The album would be entitled This is Berkeley, Not West Bay EP, featuring the AFI song Love is a Mini Splendored Thing. The title of the compilation album, I got typed in as complication album here. That's funny. Compilation album is based on the Boston hardcore compilation entitled This is Boston, Not LA. Zafio Records co-founder Jesse Lucius, who put out this album, loved the original Boston compilation so much he chose to pay homage to it through this release of four of the best young East Bay punk bands of the time. Now we're getting into one of the last, before we get into the full length here, last EPs. It's 1995's Fly in the Ointment EP from Wedge Records, produced by Andy Ernst, who has done work with Rancid and Green Day. Remember that name. He's going to be working on a lot of stuff here with AFI over the next couple of episodes. It was re-released by Wedge Records for its 20th anniversary. Songs on this album include Theory of Revolution, Crop Tub, Cruise Control, and a Wedgley Circus Tents cover, Open Your Matte Eyes. You got anything to say about this EP, Josh? Or is it just like all the others?
The Heckle split, right?
That's the next one we're about to talk about. I was talking about Fly in the Ointment right this second.
Oh, I thought Fly in the Ointment was like further down the line.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked the first track the most on that one, I think.
Theory of Revolution.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That I don't know, something about that opening guitar riff is like kind of different for them.
It is still kind of in the same. To you, does it feel like they're maturing at all, or does it still kind of feel the same? I mean, I know we're only 2 years into this, but
This one, the reason I thought this one was like a little bit further down was because it feels slightly different
okay,
than like the other two, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we do have the other EP in 1995, the split AFI and Heckle split EP from Wingnut Records, again produced by Andy Ernst. Songs on this one include Aspirin Free and Advances in Modern Technology by AFI. Then you have Lemmings and Something Real from Heckle. Now we're going to be getting into the full lengths. Let's talk about that little album sitting there right behind Josh. It's a pretty cool album cover there. It's called Answer That and Stay Fashionable from Wing Nut Records. Produced by Tim Armstrong, Brett Reed, Doug Shangalang, and AFI. That cover art, Josh, did you know that that cover art is paying homage to the movie poster for Reservoir Dogs?
I assumed.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that quote from Reservoir Dogs?
I don't think so. I think they kind of came up with that on their own, just kind of based off of their picture.
Okay.
Um,
Isn't there a sound clip though on the album?
from Reservoir Dogs.
No, that says that. That says answer that and stay fashionable. Or
Oh, the album title.
yeah.
I think it's lyrics. I think. Or no, 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 no. You're right. You're right. It is a sound clip. It is a sound clip because it's like a UK sound clip
Hmm.
because somebody with an accent, and I want to say it was like some band member being like interviewed by somebody. That's what it sounds like to me. But their little motto on the front of their album cover there says, "For complete idiots, the perfect crime. What could possibly go wrong?" Yeah. Did you know this album, Josh, was recorded in just under a week's worth of time? Talk about get in, get out, man. Not even worry about it. Did you find it?
No, everything is just pulling up their album.
Yeah. It's in one of
Hmm.
I think it's one of like close to the last few, maybe. I didn't think it was in the middle. Um, Mark Greentree from subjectivesounds.com went back through the band's discography, starting with this album, as he stated, the quote, sound quality is important when it comes to punk rock, and thankfully, Answer That and Stay Fashionable isn't overly compressed or brick walled. Of course, Answer That and Stay Fashionable was mastered in the mid 90s, just before the commencement of the loudness wars, and it sounds superb as there is no discernible distortion other than that intended by the band. He also goes on to say, quote, overall, Answer That and Stay Fashionable is a high energy, fast paced punk rock album that has stood the test of time and will, if it hasn't already, become a classic of the punk rock scene. Josh, I put the question to you. Is it a classic in the punk rock scene?
I mean, I couldn't tell you because I'm not a member of the punk rock scene.
All right.
I feel like it's an album that holds up for me. Hard to
Okay.
say, bro, with niche like groups and genres like that. People are always gonna there's there's so much like gatekeeping, you know?
Mhm.
And I feel like people are always going to pick the bands that nobody has any idea who they are. Nobody's ever heard of them. And because AFI is AFI, like I could hear people saying they're not like real punk or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Just saying. I could hear that, I could hear people saying that.
Okay.
My opinion, yes, this album and the two that follow it are still pretty solid punk albums for,
Mhm.
for what they are.
Right.
But yeah, I don't
Okay.
know. Yeah, they're solid.
So songs on this album include Two of a Kind, Half Empty Bottle, Your Friend and Mine. I want to get a mohawk, but mom won't let me get this one. Brownie Bottom Sunday, The Checkered Demon, Cereal Wars, The Mother in Me, Rizzo in the Box, Kung Fu Devil, Your Name Here, NyQuil, Don't Make Me Ill, High School Football Hero, and only found on the original release, police cover Man in a Suitcase. And then if you get the vinyl, you get bonus tracks, Self Pity and Key Lime Pie. Yeah, again, it's just kind of they all sound the same to me, these first several albums. So
Yeah.
they're not bad. They're not bad. They're just, I mean, it's punk rock. So
Yeah.
that's punk rock. Yeah. After release of their debut album, the band would find their style and sound coined with the term East Bay Hardcore. Yeah.
I
I
like the
guess. I don't know.
sound of that.
Kind of
I don't
cool,
know
though.
if I would call them East. I don't know if I would call them hardcore,
Right. Yeah.
but
With success from their debut album, the band drew the attention of Nitro Records, which was founded by the Offspring frontman Dexter Holland. And they would sign on with Nitro Records to produce their sophomore album, 1996's Very Proud of You from Nitro Records. Produced by Michael Rosen and AFI, this is going to be the last album for bassist Jeff Chris. Yeah. GK. What up,
get
GK?
out of here, Jeff.
Get out. We don't need you. You're a bassist. We're a punk rock band. We don't need you in a punk rock band. We can do without you, right, Josh? Yeah.
No, we're gonna get another one.
Well, according to some people, they can do without bassists.
We're
But
gonna get a better one.
like the debut album, this album would also be re-record. This album would be re. It's the first time.
Would it be
First time.
re-recorded?
The first time to be recorded in under a week. So yeah, I like the approach. What's up with your video? What happened? Oh, you still there?
Oh, I'm here.
What are you doing?
Da da da.
Okay. Anyway, Mike
Ignore
from
me.
Punk. Yeah, I am.
Ignore the man behind the curtain.
Mike from punknews.org looked back on the album stating, quote, a great representation of the East Bay sound and their big splash onto the national underground scene. Very proud of you. Proud of you. Proud of you. That's so white of me. Very proud of you. Very proud of you was a great demonstration of the California skate punk hardcore style.
I'm very proud of you. Do you all have anything gluten free?
Nice.
Is there a Starbucks nearby?
As I tighten my tie up. While it harnessed the streetwise aggression of East Coast hardcore elements, the record also rocked along with the more melodic sensibilities of the California sound. And this musical marriage is evidenced in nearly every chorus on this record. The 6-track advances in modern technology exemplified how naturally AFI connected these sounds. The song moves along with the speed of a hill bombing skater, but also has great choral breaks that at once showcase their ability to layer melodies and to craft great sing-alongs. Perfect Fit also aptly presented this sound. It rushes forward with great horse-hopping guitars, only to break into a harmony-laden chorus that I defy the listener to not want to sing along to. And all tied together with cleverly approachable lyrics like, quote, I won't be sedated, I won't be sedated. Give me a little taste, and I know I want more. I won't be sedated. Stability is overrated. Give me the distorter I adore. Yeah. Songs
Sound like
on
you were
this
really loving
album.
that.
I was loving it. Songs on this album include the pre-gap song. This is throwing it back. I like these pre-gaps. You know what a pre-gap is, don't you? It's the song in between songs, or in this case, a song before the album even starts. Wrap your mind around that.
I think that's just the first track.
No.
Is it the
So
last track of the album before?
in a way. So if you have a CD, I'm just going to use CD as an instance. So if you have a CD, you put it in CD player, you hit the rewind button, it'll go into the negative, and that's a pre-gap song. Norma Jean has it on Oh God. I'm trying to think who else.
What?
There's others out there, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've never
Yep.
done that, I don't think.
Oh yeah. I used to love to find CDs like that, man.
Is that the only one you know of?
What, Norma Jean?
Yeah.
That I can think of right off the top of my head. I think As Cities Burns has one on one of their albums too. But you can go look up like on Wikipedia pre-Gap songs, and like I think there's a list of bands that have it. Obviously, it's not a complete list, but
Okay.
yeah. But here's a pre-Gap song on this album. It's called the No Dave Party. Dave's not allowed.
Well, what are you supposed to do digitally?
Nothing. That's the bad part. That's what I don't like about like
The
digital
fuck?
now. Yeah,
So,
it's just like you just lose
am
it.
I able to like find them on YouTube then?
You should be able to. So like
Okay.
in turn, I don't know about this one. I didn't go look. Well, no, I
I
take that
was
back.
like,
I think it.
how am I supposed to go back? There's no other song here. How do I?
How do I work it, man? Now I know like Norma Jean. I talked about this on the Norma Jean episode too. So the Norma Jean one is just an instrumental track. It's on YouTube. I know it is. You just gotta look up Norma Jean, Oh God, the Aftermath instrumental. Um, I don't remember what it's called though, because I think it actually has a name, but a lot of these times, yeah, you can just go like look it up on YouTube and they'll have it on there. So but you also have the first official track on the album, He Who Laughs Last, which actually ended up being their first music video as well. You also have File 13, Wake Up Call, Cult Status, Perfect Fit, Advances in Modern Technology, Theory of Revolution, The Secret Ninja, Soapbox Derby, Aspirin Free, Fishbowl, Charles Atlas, Crop Tub, Consult My Lover, Take the Test, Two of a Kind, Shatty Fatmish. Shatty Fatmish. And a Shatty Fatmish to you, Josh. Your Mine, Cruise Control, and the finale, Modern Epic. Sophomore album, Josh. How'd they do?
I I kind of have the same feeling that we've talked about,
He's
like
still stuck on that pre-gap. I can feel it. I can feel it in
a
his
little
voice.
bit. Um, just
You're
a
missing a whole world
general
out there, Josh, of pre-gap
general. Here's
songs.
your punk album. But I do like the run of Two of a Kind through the end.
Okay.
I feel like it just kind of like hurdles through each one of
Yeah.
them. So yeah, I don't know. And there's some cool riffs. They're a little out of the ordinary for them in there. So,
Sure.
but we're
Yeah.
starting to get more into the territory of where I'm like, okay, I'm starting to see elements of
Mhm.
like what you're gonna see heavy in The Art of Drowning and Black Sails.
Right. Well, I feel
So
like this next album is where I really started to hear. I mean, they still had the punk rock in the next album, but you could tell it was like it was kind of going somewhere, you know.
yeah,
And shut your mouth and open your eyes. But before that, um, we got a new bassist. Apparently, the band thinks they need a bassist in a punk rock band. I don't know. Hunter Bergen would come in to fill the vacant spot at bass. Um, at the moment, he was just helping on touring purposes. But unlike some of the bands we talked about before, Josh, AFI did the right thing and they said, "Hey, you're already touring with us. You already know the songs. You're a good musical player. Why don't you just join the band full time?" You know, they made it easy. They made life
smart,
easy on themselves. You
smart.
know, they did the smart move. So he would be on the writing and recording of their next album, which is 1997's Shut Your Mouth and Open Your Eyes from Nitro Records. Produced by Andy Ernst and the band. Like I said, the first album for Hunter Bergen on bass. Future guitarist Jade Puget would actually contribute backing vocals and additional guitar work to this album. Do you know what's going on with that album artwork, Josh?
I saw like a bigger fold out.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what the whole thing is, but
So the album art is largely composited from a 1929 children's magic set. So like the box that it came in, like the cover on the box. It's pretty interesting. I feel like what?
it's creepy.
Yeah. And that's where I was kind of like, okay, I look at this album, just looking at it, it's like, okay, yeah, I think we're starting to go in a direction here, you know. So yeah. Shorty Chord. What up, Shorty Chord? Shout out from punknews.org. Reviewed the album. What kind of name is
Hey,
that?
buddy.
What up, Shorty Chord? What up? Call me. Reviewed the album in 2002, stating, quote, with this album, AFI started their tradition of an introductory song. And in this song, they quickly established a new sound and new lyrical content, much more intense with the flair for the demonic. The author would of the article would go on to say, quote, the album as a whole is a mix of hardcore and punk, rife with melodic choruses and ferocious chants. Rumor has it that during the recording of this album, Davey had to hold cloth in his hands because he would get so into singing slash screaming that he would dig his nails into his hands and bleed. Damn, the effort sure shows. Anger, despair, yearning, and alienation are all topics that can be found in this album, but the album is so good that it puts a smile on my face every time I listen to it. Not me, the author, Shorty Chord. What up?
Shorty Chord.
Shorty Chord. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Had to hold a cloth in your hand because you're digging your nails into your hands and bleed. What? Okay,
I don't know.
he's bleeding for his art. No. Songs on this album include Keeping Out of Direct Sunlight, an introduction, Three Reasons, a single second, pH Low, Let It Be Broke, third season, Lower Your Head and Take It in the Body, Coin Return, The New Patron Saints and Angels, 3 seconds Notice, Salt for Your Wounds, Today's Lesson, which is a cover of the band Filth, The Devil Loves You, and the finale Triple 0. So, starting to go somewhere, Josh? We're starting to go somewhere? Oh, wait a minute. Bless you.
You said it was a cover of Filth?
Yeah, the band Filth, Today's Lesson.
It's got to be a different Filth.
Okay.
Because the Filth I know, there's no way. I don't think they've been around that long.
Maybe they knew they were going to do that song in the future. So, here, we're just going to go ahead and do you a favor and cover it now.
No, the Filth I know put out their first album in 2018.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
AFI, our prophets. Yeah. What'd you think of the album, Josh?
Good. And because it starts to lean into the block of AFI that I'm the biggest fan of, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
So like all the pieces are like starting to be there. And I feel like when they put out this EP after this, it
Mhm.
really feels like a rebranding. Like it
Okay.
feels like, hey, this is the direction we're going now. You
Okay.
know, just like December Underground kind of feels like that for the last part, you know, like it feels like,
Right.
hey, this is what we're doing now. Even if it's not December Underground, probably I think Love was after that.
Crash Love.
Crash Love, okay.
Yeah.
I think that is really where you start to, you know,
Just switch up again. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It feels like it's from my experience of like talking to people, the consensus is um majority of people like what you're talking about, the middle there, that Black Sails, even a Fire Inside EP, that little center of their discography, The Art of Drowning, All Hallows EP, stuff like that. That seems to be the consensus of this is my favorite part of the discography. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Even Sing the Sorrow, like I really
Sing
love
the
Sing the
Sorrow, yeah.
Sorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you can definitely tell. I mean, they're still keeping their punk roots on this album, but it feels like and I think it starts with the album artwork, but it feels like it's going in a different direction, a little darker, you know.
Yeah.
So that EP, Josh, that you were talking about is 1998's A Fire Inside EP from Adeline Records. produced by Andy Ernst and AFI. This is the last album for founding guitarist Mark Stopoulos. And the album, if you didn't realize it, was titled after the band's full moniker. Songs on this album include 3.5 Overexposure, which are both originals, and then you have 2 covers, The Hanging Garden, which is a song by The Cure, and Demonomania, which is a Misfits cover. So you feel like this is kind of a statement of, hey, we're starting to go, we are announcing it, we are going in a different direction.
Yeah.
Because what's the next? Is the next Black Sails
All
after this? I
Hallows.
think it is. Is it All Hallows?
Yeah. Well, they both come
Okay.
out in 99.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean,
So
All
we're
Hallows they're all covers.
All
So,
Hallows is. Oh yeah, you're
yeah.
right. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Yeah. So we're
Everybody's got
we're.
to cover Halloween by the Misfits.
I was about to say, yeah, we're on the doorstep of horror punk era for AFI. So that's interesting.
What's the
Uh,
other one that covers it? Aiden covers it, I think. And then is it Atreyu or Winds of Plague? I can't remember.
oh my.
Because we're on that 2008 shit here at History of the Chorus podcast.
Oh boy. So like I said, founding guitarist Mark Stopoulos would be leaving the band. He would be replaced by Jade Puget on guitar. Thank God this is the final lineup change.
And
We
this
don't
is
have to
the
worry about it.
best. Like, that's
This is
why,
it. This
yeah,
is the core right here.
yeah, these are the guys.
Yep, this is it. The next chapter of the band's career would see a new sound, like me and Josh were talking about, as the band moved towards horror punk. Horror
Hurrah.
punk, with an emphasis on a more somber atmosphere throughout their songs. So let's recap, Josh, real quick. The first little third of their discography here. Heavy on the punk, starting to lean more towards a little darker image, a little more horror punk, which is where we're going to start. We're going to pick up in the next episode. Okay. I don't know. Should I ask this now or later? Decisions. I was just gonna ask, like, do you feel like AFI is a band that people should experience it from A to Z, or do you really feel like, hey, don't even worry about the first stuff unless you're just like really into punk rock, you should start here.
Yeah, they're one of those bands that can cater to a lot of people over their career.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I don't think the same people who like it at A are gonna like it at C.
M
You
or
know,
C, yeah.
it's very different, and so no, I don't necessarily think I would recommend that you start it from the beginning unless you're already like just maybe like a big fan of the middle through the end, even. I would
Mm-hmm.
say, yeah, you're a big fan. You need to go back and listen to those early albums. Or if you were a punk fan, I would say go back and listen to those albums. But
Right.
um, no, based on who you are, I would recommend you certain parts of their discography. So
You heard it first here, people. From Josh's lips to your ear holes. Yeah.
straight into your ear holes.
Yep, straight into your ear holes. All right, well that's gonna cover it. Take care of it. Put a nice little bow on top of it for episode 1. Now we're getting into the meat. This meat sandwich. I want a
The
double
meat
meat,
sandwich.
triple stack, man. On this next.
Who are you saying that I call them a bread sandwich?
That was once nothing.
Oh,
Because I
and
mean, you
not
really.
okay. That was something I was going to say before. It's not that there's no substance there.
No.
It's
It's just
just
like there's just
like
no there's no history really.
there's no frills, you know?
Yeah.
It's a sundress. It's not a wedding gown.
What?
Like I said, it's a
Always a
sundress. It's not
bridesmaid,
a wedding
never a
gown.
bride.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Interesting comparison there.
yeah.
Hmm. They're just one of those bands that just go listen to their music. You don't really need to know anything about their history, but yeah. Anyway,
It's a good
so
truck. It's not a Lambo.
okay, well, I'm gonna get out of here before he just like makes things worse with his comparisons here. Make
I'll
sure to
just keep
follow us.
talking, so
Make sure to follow us. I can mute you
you
actually.
gotta
So
end it. You gotta
oh man. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at is survived by pro for news and the latest episode postings, not just on the show, but our other shows as well. The History of the Cores After Hours podcast with my good friend and avid listener of this very podcast right here that you're listening to. You're listening to a podcast within a podcast. Um, I sit down with my good friend and avid listener, Eric, and we talk about some of the bands that me and Josh have already talked about. Kind of give a little interview, a little perspective on a listener's take about some of the dumb things we say. You also have the Red Right Hand podcast, which has covered all 6 seasons and then some of the Peaky Blinders from Netflix and BBC. You also have the Throne of the Dragon podcast, which so far has covered season 1, soon to be season 2, because we're not affected by the strike. That's right. Filming's still continuing, even though people are on strike. Yeah.
I heard that some of the
All
production
right.
stuff was shutting down.
Oh no. Okay. Well, yeah. So not like a full-blown shutdown, I guess.
We'll see. We'll have an update on some stuff here pretty soon. I want to do maybe one before we get the next episode on Magor out. Maybe do one where we're just covering like some news around the season.
Okay.
We can, take a look at some of the new actors they're going to be introducing and new characters that we're going to see, what time frame this is going to kind of cover, I don't think they said specifically, but I expect this to be the beginning of the war to, I guess, relatively the middle.
How
And
many seasons were
then
there supposed to be? 3 or 4?
4.
Okay.
4 will
It'd be
be
interesting how they dance through this,
the
though.
after events that happen.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think that's what they've said.
Okay. That'd be interesting. Yeah, so we got that. Go check it out. Be on the lookout for those future episodes. And also, while you're on Twitter, make sure to follow my co-host at Joshua Lynn Gary. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review and write us a comment on whatever podcast service you're using. And if you want to listen to us and see our smiling faces, head on over to our YouTube page. Just search Is Survived by Productions, and that'll have every episode from all of our shows. Subscribe to the channel. Thumbs up the video. My thumb's disappearing. I can't tell because I can't see me.
They're there.
Cool. Alrighty, that is going to do it until AFI Part 2 episode coming at you. Till then, we will see you.